couldn't beat him, nothing could hold him down. Our God conquered the grave, so come on now, make it loud. Everybody shout it out, Jesus is alive right now. Sing it out, sing it out, sing it out. Jesus is alive right now. Whoa, sing it out, sing it out, sing it out. Jesus is alive right now. We won't stop, we won't wait. We'll stand and sing, we'll sing his name. We won't stop, we won't wait. We'll stand and sing, we'll sing his name. Jesus is alive right now. Jesus is alive right now. Say, Jesus is alive right now. Jesus is alive right now. You shout it out. Jesus is alive right now. 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 Whoa! Sing it out, sing it out, sing it out. Jesus is alive right now. Whoa! Sing it out, sing it out, sing it out. Jesus is alive right now. Whoa! Sing it out, sing it out, sing it out. Jesus is alive right now. Whoa! Sing it out, sing it out, sing it out. Jesus is alive right now.
Hey Lake City kids, how are you guys doing this week? It's so great to be back with you.
That's right. We are in our third week of our Brave series, but before we get into that, we are gonna play a game. And this is one you can play at home too.
And we're gonna call it ball bounce, okay? So here's what we've got. We have got some ping pong balls on these plates,
You
okay?
could use something else too. I mean, any kind of ball would really work
Tennis
that would bounce
balls,
a little bit.
Bowling balls.
But make sure you ask your parents if you can do it in the house before you do it in the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we've got 2 cups here. Doesn't matter the size, you know, anything that these will fit. And what we're gonna do is we each have 10 and we're gonna see how many we can get into those cups, okay? So last week I won pretty handedly.
Yes, that's true. You
and
cheated,
so
but-
that is a huge accusation. This week, we are gonna do our best, all right? So 10, and then I'll count down and then we'll go. It's not a race
Okay.
because we only have 10, right?
Okay, yes.
All right, so, all right, here we go.
That's my cup. Yes. Does it work? Oh no.
We are so bad at this.
I know. You guys could probably do a lot better than us. Don't reach forward so far. Oh no.
Hey, are we
counts as
serious?
mine.
Is that really
Yeah.
happening? Oh, do you have 2? I've got 2. You got 2?
Yeah. No!
Wait.
It's up to this. It's a tie.
It's a tie. Okay, all right.
That's
All
okay.
right, that's
you
fair.
did a great job.
That's good.
So play this game at home. You can tell us how you guys did. Hopefully better than Andrew and I. We were not very good at that, but that's
I
okay.
felt like they were curvy.
It
I
was
don't know.
really fun. Maybe the tables slanted
That's
or
true.
something.
What's a real challenge is if you do like double bounces, or if you hold
yeah.
2 and try to go into 2 cups.
You can make it challenging.
There's a lot of fun stuff you can do.
Awesome. Play that game at home. Let us know how it goes. We are going to get into today's lesson. We are in our series Brave, where we're learning all about how as we follow God, there's moments that we have to be brave. And we're looking at 2 different people in the Bible who were brave. We're looking at David and Esther. We're in our third week of looking at David. We're going to learn another story about him, and next week we'll start learning about Esther.
That's right. And before we jump into our last week with David, I think we should recap our big ideas because I've really enjoyed hearing the story of David again, even though I've heard it before. It's such a cool story. And so remember our big ideas. Our first one is God knows who I am, right? We talked about Samuel going to anoint David, and it wasn't about being the biggest or strongest. David was actually the youngest of the brothers. But God didn't look at the outside, he looked at the heart. And then last week we talked about how God can use my gifts. And it was such a cool story because we talked about David and Goliath, Goliath. But not just the incredible thing that happened, but the fact that God was working to use David even before that moment. When he was a shepherd and he took on that lion and that bear, he was getting ready to fight Goliath. And so I really like that aspect of the story. But this week's big idea, you guys ready?
Drum roll. We can show others. Oh, you said it. I said it wrong.
I'll give you one more chance.
Okay. We can show mercy to others. Thank you for showing me some mercy and letting me do that again. I appreciate that. I don't think of mercy and bravery like as the same thing. Our series is Brave. We're talking about mercy. That's interesting to me. I'm curious to see how those two things relate. Now we have a fun video that we're gonna watch to tell our story for today. This is about David, and it takes place after David and Goliath. And remember, he's been anointed as king, but Saul's still king. So let's watch this video and see what happens.
Take a look.
Stories of the Bible. David and Saul. This is David.
Hey.
David was a shepherd who lived in Israel. David was chosen by God to be the next king of Israel when he was just a boy. But David had to wait a very long time until that promise would come true, because there was another king of Israel named Saul. Saul was strong and tall and looked like everything a king should be. But Saul did not follow God like he was supposed to, and for that reason, God chose to take the kingdom from Saul's family and give it to David's. David became a great warrior. And everyone in the kingdom loved David.
Huh?
This made Saul jealous, and Saul hated David because he thought he would try to kill him and take the throne from his family. So Saul wanted to kill David.
Whoa!
Saul hunted David, but he couldn't catch him. One day, Saul heard that David was in the wilderness of En-Gedi. So Saul gathered 3,000 of his skilled fighters and went to find and kill David. During Saul's search for David, he went in a cave to relieve himself. Well, this very cave was the one where David and his men were hiding. And when David's men saw that Saul was unaware that David was there and unable to defend himself, they said, "Now's your chance, David. This is God telling you that he will give you your enemy to do with as you wish." So David crept forward and cut off a piece of Saul's robe. But then David began to think that it was not right for him to take Saul's life. For no matter how much hardship and difficulty Saul had caused him, it was still not right for him to hurt the one who God had placed over Israel. So David told his men to back off, and he did not let them kill King Saul. They waited until after Saul had left the cave. And then David ran out of the cave and shouted after Saul, "My king! Why do you listen to people who say I am trying to harm you? Look, I cut it off, but I didn't kill you. This proves that I am not trying to harm you and that I have not sinned against you, even though you've been hunting me." David went on to promise that he would never harm Saul. David said that God would be the one to protect David and to rescue him from Saul's power. Saul said, "Is that really you, David?" And he began to cry. Saul said, "You are a better man than I. You have been amazingly kind to me today, for when God put me in a place where you could have killed me, you didn't do it. Who else would have done this? And now I realize that you are surely going to be king, and the kingdom of Israel will flourish under your rule. But promise me that when that happens, you will not kill my family." So David promised that he would not hurt Saul's family, and they left each other in peace. Now Saul continued to cause difficulty in David's life. But David kept his promise, and in time, David did become king of Israel. David was dearly loved by God, and Israel did flourish under his rule because David did everything that God wanted him to do, and he was a man after God's own heart.
Wow, that was awesome. That's
Really cool.
a crazy story. I can't imagine being David in that situation.
I know.
You know, David showed mercy to Saul. You know, what really is mercy?
That's a really good question. I think it's important for us to understand because really what mercy is it showing compassion or forgiveness when you have the power to give the consequence. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah,
So like if
yeah.
somebody wrongs you, like maybe somebody stole something from you or hit you or said something mean to you, you would feel like you had the power to maybe hit back or say something mean back.
Give them what they deserve, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
it's kind of that, but instead of doing that, you actually show compassion or forgiveness.
Okay.
And we see that happening in this story because here's the thing, as we kind of saw in the video, we've kind of learned a little bit, Saul wasn't in a good place and he thought that David was threatening to take his kingdom.
He was afraid.
Yeah, he was afraid, and so out of that fear, Saul was trying to actually kill David.
This is not good.
Yeah, and this isn't just like a one-time thing. Like Saul was actively angry about this.
David was living on the run.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so like we see here is that Saul's in this moment where he's vulnerable, and David had almost every right to really act out. The people that were with him were saying, David, you really should probably kill Saul because otherwise he's not gonna stop trying to come after you.
It would have made his life easier to
Yeah.
just kill Saul and be done with it all.
Yeah, it really would have been the easiest thing to do. And yet in this moment, what we see taking place is so important because David, even though he could have acted that way, and maybe everyone would have thought he had the right to, he showed mercy. And mercy is showing compassion or forgiveness, even if you have the power to give that consequence.
Yeah, you know, it's important to know that as we talk about being brave, stepping out into whatever situation there is, that there's times in our life when we have to be brave, when it really does mean showing compassion and forgiveness rather than giving people what they deserve. There's a lot of things in our life that happen where people wrong us, they hurt us, or maybe it's them messing up. And we have so many opportunities to either give people what we think they deserve or show mercy. And really, God wants us to show love and kindness and compassion towards people. And so as you are stepping out in your day-to-day life and you're taking these examples that we've talked about with David and you're like, I want to be brave, just like David was, part of that is showing mercy to others. It's a huge part of being brave.
Yeah, and you just said it, but let's say it again because it's our big idea, okay?
Okay, I'm gonna try not to mess up this time.
Okay.
Okay.
We can show mercy to others.
Yeah, I encourage you guys, talk with your family this week about what it means to show mercy. I bet you that each and every family that is tuning in this morning has some kind of situation going on where they have an opportunity to show mercy to someone. Maybe it's within your family, maybe it's with your siblings, or even your parents, maybe it's with friends or other relatives, maybe it's people maybe you don't even know, but they're saying things or doing things. We all have opportunities every single day to show mercy to others.
Yeah, and that's being compassionate and using forgiveness. Yeah. Well, listen, I think before we're done, let's do our memory verse. We got it for a couple more weeks before we do our new one.
That's right.
So,
Let's go.
You guys have the motions down yet?
I got them down.
I do.
God is able to do far more than we could ever ask for or imagine. He does everything by His power that is working in us.
Ephesians 3:20.
Flex those muscles. Awesome.
Good job, everyone. Listen, hey, today is the first day that you can pick up our family night kits. So if you're coming in today, we'll be at the church probably till a little afternoon, but also the next 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, our normal office hours, 8:30 to 4, right in there. We have them ready. You can come in and pick them up in the main office. So when you walk into the kids lobby, it's just to the left, and we'll have them ready for you guys to pick up. We're really excited
We
about
want
these.
you to use your kit sometime this week, be interactive with it. We cannot wait wait to see what everyone thinks. We're excited for these. And if you missed out on our family kits this time, don't worry, we're looking forward to doing something like this again in the future. We'd encourage you still to do your family night. We have the page for our family nights this week that'll be up on our Facebook page, or if you have our book, you can use that. Spend some time this week talking together as a family, eating some food, having some fun, and building your faith.
That's right.
Kids, we are so excited that you are here with us this morning. We miss you, and we hope you have a fantastic week.
See you guys.